interview with a World War II veteran for the Library of Congress. And we'll start off with the name of your name, sir.
Robert Buren McKinnon.
Okay. Your birthplace?
Clarksville, Tennessee.
The year?
February the 5th, 1927.
Okay. And the war that you served in the branch of service?
World War II, U.S. Navy.
The highest rank?
Seaman second class.
Okay. The date and place, the town and state of recording is Erin, Tennessee. And it's August 8th, 2007. And my name is Jerry Bybee. I'm a member of the Historic Society, and we're doing this for the Library of Congress. Okay. Your parents' occupation?
My mother was a school teacher, elementary school teacher. My father was in the railroad cross tie business.
In Clarksville?
Erin.
On Erin? Okay. The number of sisters and brothers?
I have two sisters.
State their names, please.
Betty or Elizabeth McKinnon and Marjorie Eve McKinnon.
Okay, no brothers?
No brothers.
Okay. Okay, what was you doing before entering the service?
In high school,
Okay. Did you have any other family members that served in the military?
my father was in World War I, served in the Army.
Served in the Army. Okay. Now, during the wartime, where did you serve?
I was first served as in basic training or boot camp in the Great Lakes Naval Training Station in Illinois, and then from there to San Francisco, and after a brief stay there, I went aboard a ship.
Can you give us a little details of the trip abroad?
Well, I served on board the ship, the USS Isherwood, which was a destroyer, and the war was ending when we were almost directly under the Golden Gate Bridge. We were heading out for the invasion of Japan, if that was necessary, so the atomic bomb changed that. So then we were diverted to, went through the Panama Canal and then to the Atlantic.
And where was you stationed at after you went through the Atlantic? Or where was your port that you landed at?
Well, and it went to Atlantic. We went to observe Navy Day in New York, and then from there to Charleston, South Carolina, where the ship was decommissioned and placed in mothballs.
So the Navy Day in New York, that was the end of the war celebration?
Yes, in effect it was, yeah.
Was that a large turnout?
Oh, yes, yes.
Do you
We were there with the battleship Missouri and several aircraft carriers and numerous other ships that were to be viewed. We were tied up, and it was more or less for viewers, visitors to come aboard any of the ships. And it was, I guess, for about a week's duration.
Did you, the parade in New York that they had, did you participate in that?
No, we weren't in a parade.
No. Okay. But you was on duty on the docks on your ship for open to public then, right?
Yes, yeah.
All right. Okay, was you enlisted or did you was you drafted?
I enlisted.
Okay, can you give us a little details about that?
Well, just probably 3 months before my 18th birthday, which I was 17 years old, there were several of us boys in high school decided we wanted to get in before the war was over. And that's the way most young people felt then. They wanted to do their duty. So we enlisted, and that was that.
What year was that?
1944 is when I enlisted, but I wasn't called into duty until January 1945. That's when I was called to go to boot camp.
Do you remember who the enlisting officer was, or?
No, I don't. I have no idea.
But was it in Erin or Clarksville that you enlisted?
We enlisted here. I think the officer was from Nashville, out of Nashville.
Okay. Did you have any specialized training?
No, you mean while I was in the Navy?
Yes, sir. What you did while you was in the Navy?
Well, I had some training as a radar operator, and I had some gunnery training.
Do you have any details that you'd like to discuss about that, or any events that happened that you'd like to share the moment with us?
Well, the only thing that I would say was unusual, when I left boot camp and was transferred to San Francisco, awaiting assignment, they give you a thorough examination, physical, dental, the whole bit. Well, I found that I needed quite a bit of dental work done. So I was sent over to San Francisco to have this work done. And while I was there, I received orders to go pack up my things over on the island, Treasure Island, where I was stationed, and report to San Francisco. And then I was appointed to the United Nations when it was being formed. And so I had duty there for 2 months as a courier for the delegates, transferring papers from San Francisco, where these delegates were in the hotel, to the University of California at Berkeley, where they had a large printing press, and a lot of this material was printed, and I just ran back and forth from these delegations carrying material to be printed and then delivering it back. So I did that for 2 months, and I saw the sign of the Charter of the United Nations, and after that's when I was put aboard a ship.
Did you see any of the presidents or famous dignitaries?
Well, the delegates that I dealt with was the Chinese delegate, which is J. Wellington Koo, and Lord Halifax from England. Let's see who else it was. There were 4 of them. In the United States was Stennis, I believe it was. I got the names there somewhere. Who was the delegate, and also Gromyko, the Russian delegate. So I worked with them and handled their material from what they needed printed, and I would carry it over to. And I had a wave here. I was just past 18 years old, and I had a wave as a chauffeur in a 1943 Plymouth that carried me back and forth from San Francisco to Berkeley. And so I did that until this charter was signed, and then I was relieved and assigned aboard this ship. And this ship had just come back in to be repaired because in the Battle of Okinawa it had been hit by a kamikaze, and 83 men aboard that ship were killed by this suicide plane. And it had come back into Mare Island, which is San Francisco, to be repaired. And so I was assigned that ship as a crew member.
Which ship was that?
USS Isherwood.
Isherwood.
Mm-hmm.
Which the first ship you served on was
the Isherwood.
Oh, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, when the charter of the UN was signed, so you was in San Francisco then, you wasn't in New York?
Oh, no, I was in San Francisco, and I witnessed the signing of the charter.
Oh, did you?
Mm-hmm.
Was the president there, or
oh, yeah.
was it? Was Winston Churchill there, or?
No, I didn't say Winston Churchill, but
Which
Truman was there.
Truman was there?
Mm-hmm.
Was anybody else famous there that you can think of that just kind of set you off?
Well, let's see, I can't think of his name now. Oh, goodness. He turned out to be a spy for the Russians. Oh, God. Alger Hiss. He's famous because he was a communist, but he was there representing the United States, and he was later convicted and served time in the penitentiary. If you recall, it's history, where they was taking papers, putting them in a pumpkin with Alger Hiss and Whittaker Chambers, I believe his name was.
Did you see any other countries' dignitaries like presidents or leaders there that you can remember? Or?
Well, not that I remember to recall. I was just kind of busy with those 4 that I was working with.
I understand that.
Were you aware at the time of your part in the history of what was going on?
Not really. It was just a duty that I was performing. Of course, yeah, I knew that, it was quite an event.
Can you describe any friendships that would form while you was in the military, and any camaraderie? Were you still in contact with them, or?
No, In fact, as I learned later, but I think my dental work that I had to have done may have saved my life, because the company that I went through boot camp with consisted of about 250 men. They were assigned to a Marine detachment on Okinawa as corpsmen, and I think, as I understand, half of them lost their lives there. They were killed in action. So, you know how fate works.
So you don't stay in touch, you don't revisit with any of the veterans that served while you did?
Lost contact with all of them.
How did you stay in touch with the family and friends back home, communication from home? Would you receive letters?
Just letters.
Okay.
That's all.
So,
Did you all save the letters?
I've got quite a few that my mother saved, but I sent probably a whole box full where I sent letters.
or what about recreation while you was off duty? What'd you do?
Well, of course, when you were on land base, why you had liberty and just do different things. Like in San Francisco, you I attended a lot of the museums and things, and but that's about all. Didn't have money to do much with. You know, we're gonna pay about $20 a month.
Did you see any of the USO shows? Like, why you...
Yeah, I saw one, and Rita Hayworth, and let's see who all was in that. Jack Benny, Bob Hope. In San Francisco, I saw a USO show. That's one I remember, because I remember Rita Hayworth.
I'd ask again where you was when the war ended, but you stayed under the Golden Gate Bridge?
Yeah, we were en route to, I guess, the invasion of Japan on board the ship, and we were almost directly under the Golden Gate Bridge when they announced that the war was ended.
So that's as far as you got?
Well, no, of course, we went on and toured quite a bit of the Pacific, but we never were in any combat anymore because the war ended, and then we went through the Panama Canal under the Atlantic.
While you was out in the Pacific, did you go help with any occupation of any of the islands out there?
No, we never did get probably over 500 miles away from the coast.
Did you go to Pearl Harbor?
No.
You didn't make it there? I don't know. How did you return home after the war?
Well, I was discharged in Memphis, and I got aboard the Pan American, and I didn't inform anybody when I was going to be home, so I got off the train and I walked home. And I remember one man came to me and asked me, said, "Where have you been?" And that was it. And I walked home with my sea bag and everything, and that was it.
Well, you was released from San Francisco and then you went to Memphis, or?
No, I decommissioned. The ship I was on was decommissioned in Charleston, South Carolina. And they put all these ships in mothballs in case they were needed, which this ship was later used in Korea. But I was sent to New Orleans, and from there to Memphis for discharge. On July the 9th, I was discharged.
And then you took the train from Memphis to here.
Mm-hmm.
July 9th,
1946.
1946.
Mm-hmm.
The reception by the family, you done stated that they didn't know you was back?
No, and I just walked in, and there it was.
Okay. Did the community do anything after you got back to?
No, didn't do anything when we left, didn't do anything when I got back.
Okay, your readjustment to civilian life, when you got home, what'd you do?
There wasn't any problem. Well, I went to school. Of course, I got my degree, my diploma. But, I didn't graduate, but I did get my diploma from high school. Then I went to Bowling Green Business University for a business course, and then went to work.
What kind of work did you do?
I went to work with in the hardwood lumber industry, and I worked in there for 44 years until I retired in 1990.
He wanted to know how the military experience affected your life. You have any?
I don't think it really did. It just made me a more responsible person than I was, and kind of grew up in a hurry. But other than that, I don't think it really changed me too much.
No, what one of the life lessons? Okay, I'm going to drag this a little bit further. When you came back, did you marry right away, or?
No, I returned in 1946, and I wasn't married in 1949. So like I say, I went to school, and then came back and met Betty, and we married. We dated for a year, and then we married in 1949.
Can you go into a little bit of detail how you met her, or where you
Well,
met her?
cruising around the courthouse square on a Sunday afternoon, in a kind of a, well, it would be like a, they call it a carry-all-in, but a station wagon almost, and these girls were all around there sitting around, and they all wanted to go riding, so we went riding. I'd carry them out and ride them around. So Betty and I kind of got attached to each other. So that started a romance that lasted for a year, and then we married, and it's been lasting ever since.
And can you state her maiden name for us?
Betty LaVoice Dorch.
Dorch.
Yeah.
How many children do you have?
We have 6. We had 7 children, 1 deceased.
Would you mind stating their names, or you want to tell anything about that? This is for the Historic Society more than it is for the
Well,
veterans.
our oldest child was Melinda. She was born in 1952, and then we had a son that was born in 1954, and he was born the day before Christmas and died the day after Christmas, so he didn't live very long. But anyway, then we had Richard. He was our other son, our 3rd child, and then Elizabeth was our 4th one, and then Leanne was our 5th child, and then we went for 6 years, had no more children. All these children were spaced apart pretty good, 3 years almost. And then we went for 6 years, had no children, and then we had twins, Jody and Janie, so we doubled up and caught up. And that's it.
Do they live around here locally, or have they left?
Well, Melinda, my oldest daughter, lives in Hendersonville, and the other children live around Clarksville. They're all close by.
Is there any organizations or community services that you'd like to discuss for what you do now?
Well, when we came back to here and after retired, I guess the first organization I got in was the American Legion, and then the Lions Club, and we've been involved in every kind of civic organization you can think of, one way or another, whether we're a member or just participated. And I've been active in the church, Methodist Church.
Is there anything that you would like to add that maybe we haven't asked you, or that you thought would be important to bring up?
I can't think of anything. I mean, my service in the Navy wasn't anything spectacular, but you know, I offered my service, and this is what happened. So I don't know of anything else that I could add.
All right.